במציאותם. אני רוצה אתה יודע שיש במכוניות, יש בובות כאלה?
פסי.
לייצר בובה ממנו.
פסי. Mod Gewoonlijk is giving a shiur for half an hour. I'm staying. Okay? And then I'll done. Okay? So let's say till 9 o'clock, 9:15. Okay, you good with that?
What's with the air conditioner? Why is it not working?
Oh, it's over.
אלה עובדים?
אתה לא רוצה את זה.
זה אני לא רוצה, לא. אבל אלה עובדים?
Mega Friday soda? That's like a
Ze doen nog. Dus willen ze nissen voor de camera holder.
Yeah, but I have that pineapple.
Bring a pineapple soda.
I got another color. Yeah, but he wants to use that phone.
Not holding. The piece over there.
See, for this, good. Sounds like a Mr. Flavor. Here you go.
Who's she? Mag zitten. Thank you. Oh. Closing my phone. Tifer Shloime was the Radomski Rebbe. He was a Rebbe of the Tzanzeruv, Chedisherim. He had many great Talmidim. He's a very holy Rebbe. They say he was a Mordik about Tefillah. He used to travel with his Chassidim to many different Rebbes. It's very famous. So that. Nein, Tifer Shloime, ik ben een van de Chassidische Rebbes, the Radomski Rebbe. Today was the Yutzat of the Lev Simcha, the Ger Rebbe, one of the Ger Rebbes. Oh, one of the Ger Rebbes. He was he was a son of the Einikl of the Sesemis, son of the Imre Emes, and he was the father of the present Ger Rebbe, an uncle of Reb Shaul Alter, the Rosh Yeshiva. Today is Parshas Chukas, so is Chukas HaTorah. Adam ki yamis boyel, zoekt het Tifer Shloime. So is HaTorah, Adam ki yamis boyel, Omer Chazal. Rashi brings this Chazal, Ein HaTorah miskayemes. The Torah cannot have a kiyum. Ela b'mishamei misatzma aleh. A person has to kill himself for Torah. You have to have a serious nefesh, huh? What? Oh, we missed the story. I'm sorry. It happens to be a good idea to do the story at the beginning, because this way people will watch from the beginning. So hi everybody. Today's Parshas Chukas, as we said before, and a story of the Rebbe Zechon Levrucha. So a very interesting story. There's a rabbi in the Five Towns, Arov actually. His name is Simcha Lefkowitz. Simcha Lefkowitz was one of the first. The Lakewood Yeshiva sent a minion of Jungelite to Los Angeles to start a kollel there. He was one of the 10 Jungelite, and he was actually the assistant head of the kollel. He had a son. What was his name? I forgot his name. He was a shtickle wilde kid. He was under 3 years old. And he was standing on the porch on the second floor, and he decided to jump. He jumped from the second floor. He fell on his head on the concrete, cracked his head open. They rushed him into the hospital, and Reb Simcha came running to the Rebbe, who lived across the street from them, actually, a block away, and he was masked. The son is mamish in critical condition. His head was mamish cracked open. The Rebbe said, "Gut nicht zu sagen, fuhren Spitul als es angeht." They came to the hospital, and mamish open miracle. Everything just went back to the way it was, and the kid was fine. So now we have to open our heads to Torah without cracking it open. Zois HaTorah Adam ki yamis bo'el. Amr Chazal. Ein terms kayemes, the Torah cannot be sustained. Somebody has to be moisa nefesh for Torah. He has to kill himself for Torah. L'choyer fragt das Vers Shlomo Akasha. Hallo ksiv chai bohem. We know that Torah, you have to live Torah, not chas v'sholem die for Torah. Ach, he explains like this: in the Torah Adam lias chored ulehochish lasik b'divrei Torah b'idenu b'chaim chiyusa b'olam hazeh. A person has to be fearful to make sure that he keeps the Torah properly while he's still alive in this world. Val yoyma, a person should never say l'kashef neshna. When I'll have time, I have time. I'm still young, I have time. Shem aloi tipona. Maybe you'll never get to that point. You'll never get old. L'chein tzarich lias yokor be'enov. It has to be very precious in a person's eyes every day. Hayoim v'hasho, the day, the hour, the moment. Shu bo'olam hazeh, as long as he's in this world. Adena b'koicho, he still has the energy, the sakan hakoil, to correct all his impurities. Lil matorah. Aval achakach, once you close your eyes, imiten kol chalol da alme. If he'll give the entire world, bad yoim echad, for one day, lo shev loydam hazeh, l'sakem hashivas, everything that he did wrong, he wants to correct it, and he wants to say, he says, give me a chance, let me go back. As lo yenichu, they're not going to let him go back. It was known that Reish Lakish was the head of the Gazlonim, and one day Rabbi Yochanan saw him jumping over a river. He was so strong. So he said, "Wow, you're so powerful. This energy that you have, you should use for Torah." So Rabbi Yochanan was a very beautiful person. He said, "If you're going to do tshuva, I have a sister who's more beautiful than me. I'll give you my sister. You marry my sister." And that taka happened. He married Reish Lakish's sister, became his brother-in-law, and he did tshuva. So the day that Reish Lakish passed away, says the Chazal, the whole group of Gazlonim, all the whole bunch of pirates who were his partners, they all died the same day. So they all came up B'Shamayim. They witnessed the greatness and the beautiful things that were being done to Reish Lakish in Gan Eden, B'Olam Elyon, Ima Tzadikim. He was amongst the Tzadikim. V'lehem dochfu midechi el dechi, and they got kicked out. V'yitz'aku b'tzar lehem, they started screaming from pain. Lemar, man ishtanu mimenu, why is he different than us? Eluhu munioyu, he was our partner. V'yeshivu kihu pirish mehem lasik b'toyre basam toyv. They said, shayna masa. He was talking together with you, but now he's learning Torah. So therefore, he's a different situation. V'yishalu, so they asked, hanichuhu gam anachnu noshu, give us a chance to go back to this world. We're going to go back to this world and learn Torah. No, it doesn't work that way. It's too late. You missed the boat. You should have done tshuva taka while you were still alive. This is the laws of the Torah. So a person should imagine. You have to think for a moment, what happens if I would die today? He said, whatever a person says to himself, you know what? It's my last day. Today's my last day. Imagine, Taka, they gave a person a chance. He went up to Shemayim, and they said, okay, you know what? You get one day, go back one day. So this one day, and this one day you have to prove yourself. This one day he would be oisik b'Torah yom. He'd do everything in his every moment he would use for Torah. Shenichu lo shebavada remanich afrega echad b'li avoid v'tikna shleimus chol mechayof. V'zeu, that's the b'shat v'shuv yomechad v'nei misascho. Shetadam v'nafshach, a person should imagine ki hayoyim hazeh, this is the day. Today is the day they gave you a chance to be misaken. Shenichachu lo shevolem hazeh oid mishamayim. They gave you a chance to come back from Shamayim for one day. Do a tshuva before you die. How precious is this one day? This one day, it's it. This is your day. You have a chance to do what you got to do. Tomorrow is too late. In the term is kayem, the Torah doesn't have a kiyum, doesn't have sustenance. So a person should think, I'm dead. And he thinks, what happens if I die today? Tomorrow is too late. I can't do anything tomorrow. And tomorrow Hashem will give him another day. You get up tomorrow morning and say, Baruch Hashem, you gave me another day. You trust me for another day. So Mishamayim, you got another day as a gift. נמצא כי כל חיוס שלו בעולם הזה הוא רק עבודת תורה כל יום ויום כנ"ל. So the fact that a person is alive today is only for one purpose. You can learn Torah and do mitzvahs. וזה באמת ממש כמו שנאמר, וחי בהם, שאין לו חיוס כי אם בהם בתורה mitzvahs כנ"ל. So the חיוס that a person has is only for the fact he has Torah. וזה שנאמר שנלך מצב אתכם היום, שאין לו את פנאי רק היום, לעשו יסום, ומוכר לקבל שכורם. So the only day that we have is today. Today we're alive, we don't know what's going to be tomorrow. We see every day people just disappear like nothing happened. Every day should be like it's brand new. Hashem gives you another day, He gives you another chance. So every day is precious, and we have a chance to do the Ratzon Hashem as if it's talking the last day. And if Hashem grants us another day tomorrow, so Baruch Hashem. Svasemes Tov Reish Lamed. Vani Sfilos Ilcha Hashem Yisrotzen. Zok des Svasemes. When do we say this pasuk? Every week? By Mincha. Because Mincha is the gewaltige Yisrotzen in Shemayim. Kavu b'minchas Shabbos Shi Yisrotzen. So the Anshe Knesset Agdoyle Masakan the Seder Atfilis, they said we should say this pasuk Mincha when we open the Aron HaKodesh, because that's a gewaltige Yisrotzen. Va'em ezok tzvasemes a interessante chap. Ki b'nei Yisrael ma'oirim mit filosam Yisrotzen. Klal Yisrael has the koyach through their tefillah to create an Yisrotzen b'shamayim. K'mo shedosh Chazal, Eimas ha-Yisrotzen. When is an Yisrotzen? B'shor shatzib mispalalim. So when we daven, we create in Shemayim Yisrotzen. When we say tefillas, v'zeh shenema, v'ani tfilos yilcho Hashem Yisrotzen. Ayidei zeh, v'ani tfilos yilcho, when I say tefillah to you, ayidei zeh niya Yisrotzen, shatfilah gerem Yisrotzen. When we say tefillah, it becomes Yisrotzen Shemayim. Rak mikol makom, yesh itim, there are certain times, shakadosh baruch hu mishtoikik l'rotzen zeh shebnei Yisrael yigremu rotzen. There are certain times that Hashem longs, He wants us to create the Eis Rotzen. V'zeh das b'shat Rava de Ravan. Hashem has a Rotzen that we should create a Rotzen. That's why it's called Rava de Ravan, the Rotzen of the Ritzonis. Hashem has a Rotzen that we should create Ritzonis through Atfilis. Shakadosh baruch hu yesh le Rotzen, He wants, she'oireru b'nei Yisrael Eis Rotzen kanal. U'b'Shabbos Kodesh, she'yesh lakadosh baruch hu naiche me'abriya. Like it says in Chazal that Hashem Kadosh Baruch has nachas from Brias Oilam. He says, he looks down at the world and says, wow, look at my kindlech. They're learning Torah, they're davening, they're doing mitzvahs. Hashem has nachas. When we say, the Gemara says, and says in Halacha, that when we say Vaychulu Shemayim v'Oretz, v'chol tzavoam, on Friday night, we become a shutev l'Kadosh Baruch Hu Ma'aseh Bereishis. We become a partner to the Eibishter. How do we become a partner? You imagine a guy created a business, and somebody walks over to you and says, you know what, I want to be a partner. How do you want to be my partner? I invested so many hours and so much money and so much koyach into this business. But Hashem, no, He gives us an opportunity. How? By being made. When we witness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, we become a partner to the Eibishter Ma'aseh Bereishis. This rotzen that Hashem has, this rotzen that we create through our tefillas, especially by Mincha, that gives us koyach, gives us energy for the entire world, for the entire week. When it comes to the end of Shabbos, that's a gewaldige Eis Rotzen. So a person has to connect to that time, levakesh. He has to ask from Hashem shaloi nifrad. He shouldn't be disconnected. Because we go into a whole week of 6 days of work. So the 6 days of work, we ask, we shouldn't become disconnected through the work days. through the Yom HaChol. Just like a person has to be moise my door before he does something, that I'm doing this L'Shem Shemayim. So when a person does the tefillas, Shabbos B'minche, he connects to the entire kedusha of the 6 days of the week. Noch ein Stück Tzvasemis. Tov Resh Mem Aleph. Shiras HaBe'er. And this week's parsha, the Shiras HaBe'er, when the Be'er came up, there was a, you don't have a, there's nothing left for you? Huh? I'll give you mine. So this week's parsha, we have the Shiras HaBe'er, the Be'er Shel Miriam, which came up in her schus. Oz Yoshi Yisrael, Anu Be'er V'chulu. Ali Be'er, yeah. Ali Be'er. Ki Shiras Hayom Hoya Chon El Kabbalas HaTorah Shebeksav. So we have two Chelkei HaTorah. We have Torah Shebeksav and Torah Shebal Peh. The Shiras Hayom, the Shir that we sang to Kodesh Baruch Hu for the Nisim that He did for us at the Kriyas Yamsuf. That Shir that we said was a preparation for Kabbalas HaTorah Shebeksav, which we got at Har Sinai. V'lechein Hoy Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Hashalom Ha'ikar. That's what it says, Az Yoshir Moshe V'nei Yisrael. V'shir Zu from the Be'er, Hayachona L'bchinas Eretz Yisrael, V'torah Shebal Peh. V'atzmei Perish Pi HaBe'er. What means the Pi HaBe'er? Sheyesh koyach b'bnei Yisrael L'ftoyach Mayan HaTorah, Shal Zeh Nema V'chai Oilam Notah B'Seicheinu. Kodesh Baruch Hu put into us, he implanted within us the Chai Olam. Chai Olam is Torah. V'yiseh shepi habe'er nivre be'erev Shabbos ben Hashmoshes, like we says in Pirkei Avos. U'moed Zekuni Zal, that's the Sfasemis' grandfather, the Chiddush Harim says, Omar, Shal Zeh Nema sheishes yimei hamas yeh sogur. It says in the Novi that 6 days of the week everything is closed. Yom HaShabbos yiposeach, Yom HaChodesh yiposeach. What does it mean? That Shabbos Kodesh has the koyach to open up the 6 days of the week. V'emes Shabbos Kodesh yesh aliyah l'kol oilamus. It's brought down in the Arizal that there are basically four oilamus. We spoke about it vaguely. We're going to speak about it now vaguely also. It's called Abiyah, Atzilis, Bri, Yitzir, Vasir. And in every world, there are 10 spheres. There's the three pnimim, which is Kesach, Chachma, Bina, and there's the 7 midas, which Hashem rules this world through the 7 midas. Chesed, Gvur, Tefes, Netzach, Yisod, Malchus, and that's connected the Ovos HaKadoshim, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Meshach, and Yosef, and David. So every chelik of Shabbos, there's a certain aliyah. Friday night, everything goes up 1. And the klippos, which are underneath Malchus, they stay on the bottom. That's why on Shabbos we feel a greater elevation. We daven differently, we learn differently. There's no Yetzer Hara, not as much as during the week. And as the Shabbos goes on, it goes up and up and up. And the highest point is by Keser. When we say Keser, that's why people scream by Keser. They don't even know why they're screaming. But Lamaisa, that's why we feel an urge to scream by Keser. Keser! Why? Because that's the aliyah, that's when there's the highest zivug ba'olam ha'salyonim. Aval b'nefesh adam ba'atzmoi, gam gesh or yiseder b'Shabbos kodesh. V'zeh b'chinas neshama yiseder. So every Friday night, as we say in the Rosh Hashanah, v'chulay misatem b'shmos echadetem, we get a new neshama. And we spoke about it in one of the previous Shiurim, that the Shabbos is called the Kala. The neshama says it's called Kala, because the Kala is only for 7 days. And the next week, that's also the Fresh Lema brings that next week is a brand new Kala. Reb Tzadok speaks about it at length. So every Shabbos, we get a brand new Neshama Yisrael. It's not the one we got last week. It's not the Neshama Yisrael we got last week. It's a nine Neshama Yisrael. The Ikiru Adibir, K'mo Shalem Avahi, Ha'odam, the Nefesh Chayo. In Parshat Bereishis it says, Vahi Odam Nefesh Chayo. Metargemina, the Targum says, the Ruach Memalalo. He gives us the Ruach to speak. That Shabbos we have to speak differently than we speak during the week. That's why Shabbos, if you speak Divrei Chulin, you can't. There was a famous song by Lipa, Nishn Shabbos Geret. He sold his car, Nishn Shabbos Geret.
Right.
The gedanke von nicht in Shabbos gelernt, because you're not supposed to speak divrei chulin b'Shabbos. You can't speak business Shabbos. Ki loylam tzrichim lishmer hapeh, they should clean nivra Torah v'tefillah. The mouth was created for Torah and tefillah. Shimon bar Yochai said, Rebbeinu Shalom, if I was there by Brias Olam, I would ask Hashem to create two mouths, one for Torah and one for divrei chulin. But then he realized that if we have two mouths, we'll speak Devarim B'Teilim with two mouths. It's noch erger. So Hashem said, leave it at one mouth, just to make sure that you're focused on Shabbos. You don't speak Divrei Chulin. Ub'Shabbos Kodesh she'eshachon yisrael lechadish Divrei Torah b'chinas pi habe'er, like we said now, Hanal Hama'ayin she'esh b'chalei v'ish Yisrael. Every Yid has this ma'ayin in his heart, which opens up his mouth. B'Shabbos Kodesh niftach ois ha'ma'ayin l'chein tzrichen lishmer ha'peh b'yoyser b'Shabbos Kodesh. That's why Shabbos we have to watch our mouth even more so. There's a Gemara in Shabbos, next piece. Shabbos, Daf Kuf Yud Gimel. He brings the pasuk there. V'chibadetoi yishu mechabed Shabbos ba'asois drochecho, from doing your things. Memtzoi chefzecho, from doing your business. V'daber dover, and to speak your dibur. Dash the Gemara azoi. V'chibadetoi ma'asois drochecho. V'chibadetoi, how you mechabed Shabbos? You don't walk around in dungarees on Shabbos, not in shorts. Shabbos has to be kedusha. You wear Shabbos clothing. That's why the Chassidim wear bekisha, and the Mesnagdim wear nice suits and nice hats, some with a feather, some without. But lemaisa, it's Shabbosdik. Rabbi Yochanan he called his clothing mechabdusai. Because why? Because the clothing is mechabed the person. You see a banker walks around with beautiful fancy clothing, with a Rolex watch that's worth $70,000, $80,000 or $100,000, and people respect him for that. Because the clothing that a person wears is certain respect. That's shtus. But lamaisa, the clothing the person wears, that's why some of the tzaddikim wear strakas and all kinds of different, but that's the covered Shabbos. What is the Gemara Dash Masoy Derechecha? Shalai Yeluchach Shel Shabbos Ki Yeluchach Shel Choil. Anything interesting? That you shouldn't walk on Shabbos the same way you walk during the week. Oh, that was a pshat. That it's gepasst in Shulchan Aruch that a person should not run on Shabbos. You're not allowed to run on Shabbos. You have to walk benachas. Hilichoch tehei benachas. Oh, la Shabbos. Yeah. So the walking Shabbos should be different than you walk during the week. Except if you're doing a mitzvah, you're going to run to learn Torah, or running to shul, you're allowed to run. But otherwise, you're not allowed to run on Shabbos. Mimtzoi chefzecho, dash the Gemara, chafatzecha asurim. Your personal agendas are also on Shabbos. Chefte shemayim, mutorim. That's why the gabbai in the shul is allowed to have allowed to keep track what people donate. But stamazoi, you're not allowed to. Who's the gabbai? Hashi. That he makes. Yeah, he's keeping track. V'daber davar. This is a Gemara. Shlei dibucha shel Shabbos ki dibucha b'choil. You're not allowed to speak on Shabbos the same way you speak in the weekdays. Tosfos says over there. Tosfos brings over there in Kuf Yud Gimel Amud Beis that Reb Shimon had an old mother, and we know that old mothers, babas, speak a lot. So she would speak a lot on Shabbos by the Shabbos table. So he said to her, "Mama, Shabbos hayoim. Today's Shabbos." And when she heard today's Shabbos, it was Shoska. So she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it's Shabbos." So on Shabbos, the dibur has to be different. That's why many people don't speak on Shabbos. Divrei chulin. It's halacha Shulchan Aruch. It's not Chasidus. It's not frumkeit. It's halacha Shulchan Aruch. Black and white. Shabbos you cannot speak. Stam. Shabbos is not made for blah blah. Shavit Musa Perik Ben Beis. Yedeya hamachshavos u'boichin alevavos. Hashem, who knows our thoughts and He knows what's going on in our hearts, He will punish the person who wastes his time on Shabbos for shtusim. Because now one day we have a day disconnect from our business. Instead of a person going to learn Torah, whatever he knows Torah, person knows Chumash Rashi, person knows Gemara, Mishnayos, Pnimius Torah, Chasidus, or he goes to shul to hear a good drasha. They lilma das v'yas Hashem, to learn das and yes Shemayim. So instead of doing that, moitzis mana levatol beschoik hayiskak. I don't know what hiskak is. In the old days, they have some kind of game. It's like Monopoly or what do they call these stupid games that people play Shabbos? V'haba limchais biyadai. What?
Risk.
What?
Risk.
אני לא מכיר את הסוג. לא מכיר.
לא
מכיר what? Chess, or whatever it is, nebuch. I mean, instead of wasting it, every moment Shabbos is so precious. Instead of wasting it, instead of learning, instead of wasting time with the narishkeit, and you learn Torah, so every moment is diamonds. If somebody would walk into a guy playing some kind of Scrabble, Scrabble is a very popular game that people nebuch on Shabbos. Sit for hours and play Scrabble. Nebuch. If somebody says something to them, I'm trying to sharpen my mind. I'm doing these, I play these games because it gives me better machshava. But the truth of the matter is, he's not interested in the Torah, so he has nothing to do, he's bored, so he plays games. He prefers to play Scrabble than learning Torah. So if he doesn't put people to look down at him, you're wasting your time for this nonsense. Meishus is going to answer, I do it because I want to sharpen my brain. He doesn't realize he says, he witnesses upon himself that the precious Torah, the Torah is garnished, it's not important enough. He thinks for a moment, even if he really thinks so, that this game that he's playing is going to sharpen his brain more than learning Torah. Torah says, Torah Shem Temimo, Meshivas Nofesh. Hashem Ne'emona, Mechkim Aspesi. It sharpens even an idiot, even a fool, it sharpens his brain. If he really was looking to sharpen his brain, there's nothing that will sharpen your brain more than Torah. Because Hashem, who is the source of Chachma, Hashem is Chachma himself, he's the one that gave us this Torah. And every word of Torah is part of the Eibishter's Chachma. It's proof, it's obvious that he's koifer b'Torah b'liboy, or Mishnah Nosno, Yeshua HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't believe that Hashem is the one who gave the Torah. Because if he had really believed that the Torah is so precious and it's a gift from the Eibishter, how do you dare play in front of the Eibishter? He sees you right now. He sees that you're wasting your time with this nonsense. Can you possibly believe if a person is standing in front of the king and he sees the king, if a person would realize that he's standing in front of the king, if a person is standing really in front of a king, would he be busy with nonsense which he knows would anger the king? Chas v'shulam. His sheker is so obvious that he says he's trying to sharpen his brain. We don't see after a good game of nonsense. The games. We see this. The fact is that a person, there's some people nebuch, they sit on the phone and they're playing games for hours. Some people sit in besmedrash. This is the preparation for davening. He sits and plays games. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Just to clear my mind so I can daven better." Yes. Kim b'chol eis hayoim shuponim ha'asokov oisig b'schoik oy loy v'oy lenafshoy ochem veist his life shedoyme b'dat Hashem Adam Elokeinu. He thinks he's fooling the Eibishter. The zois Yoshev k'shemeviyim ois haladin Lifnei boiroi. Is that what he's going to answer when it comes up to Shemayim after 120? Chakti, I played these games. I only played these games because I wanted to sharpen my mind to be able to understand your Torah. They're going to throw him down from the highest place in heaven to the lowest place in Sheol Tachtis. This is the Shavit Misa. Like you throw a stone into an aiming place. Because Rabbeinu Yoina Zal, Rabbeinu Yoina was a Rishon. He writes B'shar Ayira Dvarim Doimim Lezeh. Ala Moitzis Marim Divri Betola Shul Kekoife Beikir. Rabbeinu Yoina said that a person who wastes his time with nonsense is Mamish a Koife Beikir. Shein Mamin Shemaloi Kolos Kavoid. That doesn't believe that the Eibishter sees us every moment. Because if a person would believe Shoim B'Def Nekadish Bochu, he'll never do something against his will. And a person who wastes his time, the Eibishter considers that worse than anything else. I gave you life on this world, 120 years, and every day is so precious, and you can acquire the most precious things in the world, and you're wasting it for nonsense. Kishara Avedis, any other Aveda, im Yechte, Pisoim, a person suddenly chabde Yetzhara, wie ist hat EU, shloile shemir Hashem kenegdoi. Ein dann Gott kakach. Chabde Yetzhara, morgen chabt Taiva. Chabt Taiva, and he did his Taiva, whatever it is. Okay, so as a dog gefallen. Aber ze, shebezoden nafsha yoishev sho achas hashtayim. It says an hour, 2, 3. Or the fam kol hayoim. Leis kashem belibo. It doesn't remember chlad des Eibishter. Lefnei yoimed, mesachik. You're getting Hashem angry with what you're doing. He's not scared of his punishment. The mitzvah says it's a lav actually. Is a lav. You have to be careful not to forget the Eibishter. And if you're going to tell me Hashem, he remembers the Eibishter. He's playing games, although he remembers the Eibishter. He is amazing. Mevazah Hashem Esterosoi. He mevazah the Eibishter. Shoyim beliboy, Eina Kodesh Baruch Hu Ma'anish Lemi Shein Oisel Etzoinoi. V'koife b'divrei Chachamim v'utzidoiki Rachman Litzlon. V'doim Eloisim Shoyoyv David Azora B'Seiser. It resembles those people who did David Azora B'Seiser. Nobody sees. V'amru Ozav Elikim Esoretz. They said Hashem doesn't see us. And they are they say Hashem doesn't see me b'chlal. There's something that's even worse than all this. Hashem gave us one day of the week to connect to Him. So how do we connect to Him? Through Torah, through Tefillah. Vayhileis Erev, and so comes Shabbos afternoon, towards evening. Zman Rav de Raven. V'hinei B'holo, Mixes Anoshim, Achash Mispala Mincha Chatufa, Mechapt Arei Mincha Zoi, Mechapt. They don't even come to shul because it takes too much time. So Madam Tamich, they run to the wall, Madam Tamich, blah, blah, blah. What happens after that? Yoishvim B'Pesach Hatzareim, they sit down in the backyard. Echad mezeh, echad mezeh, echad batov, echad ahen, ahin, ahin, mitten. Umaschilim lahachoi v'neshama yisayre koidem lechta. They're creating pain to the neshama yisayre before it leaves him. With what? Diveischoik v'chalaklakois, mit litzunes, with narishkeit, mit v'bittel, b'chol ma she'efshe. V'loizu belvad, and if you call oive b'neim tzadik, v'hoidach b'tumoi, if a righteous person will walk by, when they see him, look at this guy. Yes, this guy's a frumi. Macht sich ehrlich. Matil mun bekodeshim. Ki beroiv dvarim leich dal pesha. V'oiv maloshen hore. V'im isha hi averes. And if a woman walks by, leich sa istakles bof. They're going to look at her, versteht sich. V'oiv mal mash amno zal, dos la stakel b'isha. Sa lav doiraise. V'leis surach levach v'machanechim. To look at a woman, especially a married woman, is mamash isa doiraisa. V'korev adova shaboim hirur chas v'sholem. That brings them to bad thoughts. V'roim keri balayla chmar al-Islam. V'kamarois gedoilois. V'kamarois noilodois me'shiva seilu. And how many bad things come out of these gatherings, milevada batola, besides the fact that they're wasting their time. Hashem v'yim neshama yisera, shebarachas mehem. The neshama yisera will run away from them. V'nishbas, it'll swear, shalei lo shav lehem oid b'shabbos hacha, im ko yasu. If this is the way they behave, the neshama says, I'm not coming back to this guy. Ki b'mokam asher ho yiroi lelavois ha-basic ha-toira. Instead of being melava the neshama yisera with toira, or b'divrei Yehadus, with Yiddishkeit, and Musar and Nefesh, u'besimcha shel mitzvah, b'sudah shlishis, or doing a sudas mitzvah, b'sudah shlishis, b'macholim arevim, geshmak food, u'mashke mesukim, and good drinks, l'shem yuchad kitchubarich ha'shchintei, l'kaim v'karos l'shabbos oineg. G'dei shetelech moitz l'shabbos semecho, the neshama yisera should go back to its source, with a simcha, happy, l'saper, l'hoid aleim, l'mal l'meish mi'es Shabbos, to say, to witness how this Yid is tzaddik, how he kept Shabbos. So instead of that, what did they do? Melav noisem b'macholim hamorim, midvorim b'teilim, v'hitoil, v'schok, midat narishkeiten, midat lashon hara, oile mish oisekein, v'oile mish yochel limchois v'eine moiche. Wow. U'meyad anish alai shamayim v'oretz. It says, I'm witnessing, and Shemayim and Oretz are my witness. She called Pesach, Shehugu Lebo, HaYeshiva, Shel Shabbos Acha Mincha. Every house, every yard, every backyard, where people sat Shabbos Mincha, and this way, the way he described it, instead of learning Torah, Choyreva v'Shameima Nafalbo, Chorbe v'Shamama Nafalbo, V'bo Malem De'anius. They lose their money, and they become mamish poor. V'lo Yishiru Lo Leim Klum, they don't leave anything for their children. It says, I many times spoke about this in public. And people listen, and they listen for a moment. But then they forget. And every Talmud Chacham that has a koyach to speak about it, and people listen to him, to repeat it over and over, then levatloi. And it'll have double word b'neshamayim. Because people who don't know, it's a shoygig, because nobody tells them that it's a problem. And in order to avoid this terrible sickness, the people should not sit this way. You have to tell them the terrible things that they're doing to themselves. They're creating chas v'sholem the chayv misa. This is mamash a gefährliche Sache, but people should know this in general. It's a very, very important thing to know. If a woman walks between two men and she's a niddah, first of all, it creates shikha. You forget your learning, and not only that, but it creates misa. B'tchilas nidusav, it's the beginning of her niddas. V'hareg neufel b'neim, it can kill them. Yeah. As I zukta. Vim besof nidusav, it's the end. Machloikes God l'nofel b'neim. Kamam v'sein azal. U'melvado einish ha'mu'usad lehem. Ba'olim habo, ba'oiv div chacham sham l'shila yavri ish b'shtei noshim. Chazal say a person should not walk between two noshim. That's why it says that if you walk between two women, you should hold the chayv shel mitzvah. It comes to the board, the tzitzis, a cipher. They walk around with my tzitzis in my hand.
Well,
Yeah, it saves you. It saves you from Misa. What? The phone? Yeah, he has the Shchefer Shel Mitzvah. He's a Hatzolah member. It's a Shchefer Shel Mitzvah, yes. But you have to hold on to it. You have to walk around with it in your hand. You should never let a woman walk between two men, because it brings us terrible, terrible things. We wish everyone a gewaldige Shabbos. You can Google him. I didn't get a chance to Google him. No, it's a few hundred years ago. Imagine a few hundred years ago, people were playing Scrabble 200 years ago. In any case, a gewaldige Shabbos to everyone. You should be zoiche to connect to Taharas HaTorah, so it's Chukas HaTorah. When I'm in the Kasha, I'm also going to say this word.